An overwhelming majority of Canadians agree that climate change is a pressing issue that demands immediate action. At the Climate Change Conference in Copenhagen, the realities of inaction on climate change became more apparent. In the midst of a staggering recession, the government insists that the economy and the environment are two separate issues that require separate solutions. Stephen Harper's Conservative government continues to provide massive subsidies for the tar sands, making the possibility of Canada signing on to a binding, scientifically based treaty an almost certain impossibility. The measures that are needed to create clean energy and reduce greenhouse gases, wind power, solar power, tidal power, geothermal, would create thousands of good jobs for workers who have been laid off over the past years, especially in the manufacturing sector. In order to address both the economic and climate crisis, we have to demand the creation of good green jobs. This is the context in which the Good Jobs for All coalition organized the Good Green Jobs Conference.
We are saying we need a green economy that can lift all of us out of poverty.
On November 7, 2009, over 600 participants, trade unionists, social justice activists, environmentalists, and youth came together for the Good Green Jobs Conference to start building a green future that is economically sustainable, equitable, and just for all.
And today we are hopefully here to spark a new movement, a transformative movement that will meet the multiple challenges of the economic crisis, which is having such a devastating effect. But we do not want to create a green economy that mirrors the old. We want to ensure that the greening of the economy becomes more than corporate rebranding.
We see ourselves as entering what we call the third wave of environmentalism. The first wave was the conservation wave. The original conservationists, they were the Native Americans. The second wave was the regulation wave. NIMBYism, not in my backyardism, began to creep into that second wave. And it began to look like, from the point of view of poor people, low-income people, people of color, that the mainstream white polluters and the mainstream white environmentalists were conspiring to put all the poison and all the toxic dumps in our neighborhoods. That's why in the 1980s you saw, inside of that second wave, something called the environmental justice movement. Well, now we are going into a third wave.
Before I even look at the roof,
The third wave is about investing in the solutions of a clean and green future. That is automatically a different politics. It's a politics of hope, of opportunity, of optimism. The only question is, as we move into this new situation, as we move into this new moment in environmentalism, who is going to be included?
An injustice for one is an injustice for all. Lending an equity lens is thinking about the injustice for one and the impact it has on all of us. It is really important to ask these questions of yourself and to constantly reassess who you are, reassess your strategy, reassess the bigger picture, and find ways to recognize how your power at the center of a movement might impact the power of the people on the margins of the movement so that you can share that power and achieve a common goal.
In Denmark, they looked at what their future was going to be. They started the modern wind industry in this world. A country that's got the same population as the GTA, 20,000 people work in the wind industry. Toledo, Ohio has 6,000 people working in the solar industry. People who used to make the windshields for cars now make the glass for covering those solar panels.
The conference featured 3 workshops designed to identify common issues and mobilization strategies that can help build a green movement, focusing on employment, local procurement policies, skills renewal, a just transition for workers, the importance of a living wage, and commitments from all levels of government.
And so we watched this morning Dan Jones's film, and he basically spoke to 2 things. We need to educate the population, give them the skills and the knowledge, right, to be able to perform in these employment opportunities.
And the whole community of Thunder Bay signed petitions, and we told our politicians from all levels of government that they need to help in the fight for the plant and for Made in Canada.
Guidance on technology, like their video games, if they're outside and you can get like solar batteries and stuff like that.
Questions of how do we build those kind of things here, right? So
we're looking at, for me, one of the main issues is that we create good green jobs that are not dependent upon profitability by capital. That doesn't mean they're wasteful, but they're publicly owned and organized.
You can invent an entire industry here in the city if you're just willing to promote the need, and you're going to attract business that way, especially when there's going to be something on the back end.
Anything that, for example, in the public sector that requires a government funding of any sort would need to adhere to a standard that said you're employing local skill, you're employing a certain wage standard with certain benefits, and that you're using sustainable, locally sourced materials.
The focus of the conference was really driven home by the closing speech of Clayton Thomas Mueller, who emphasized the need for unity in the struggle to protect the earth from rapacious corporations and governments who act in their service, and to engage in an environmental movement that speaks to the realities of workers, low-income communities, and Indigenous people.
It involves us coming up with a way so that we can learn from our past, prepare in our present to defend our children's future.
To sum up the day, Winnie Ng, co-chair of the Good Jobs Coalition, stated that the conference is the first step in implementing the new 3 R's of the environmental and labour movement: recovering our voices from the margins, reclaiming public space and resources, and remaking solidarity so that no one is left behind.
Good green jobs journey for all. We are not going to leave anyone or any community behind.